A little bit of background there for you. And now to talk us through it, joining us from Cairo is Khaled Dawood, who's the managing editor at Al-Ahram Weekly newspaper. And joining us from Washington is Dr. Fadi Heleni, who is the senior fellow of the National Council on U.S.-Arab Relations. Thank you very much, both of you. Welcome back to Q News. I'll start with you, Khaled Dawood. So beyond the ceasefire, what do you think are the expectations for the second phase of the agreement? And what elements are essential to shaping a future for Gaza?
Well, thanks, Mark, for having me. As you rightly mentioned in your introduction, the road ahead is pretty long and complicated and full of details. Again, what happened so far was almost like the majority of the first part of the agreement about the exchange of prisoners and detainees and the withdrawal of the Israeli forces of nearly 50% of the Gaza Strip. But then I think the next steps are going to be very critical, especially that U.S. President Donald Trump is taking the lead on this issue. And one of the difficulties of dealing with President Trump is that he seems to change his mind every now and then, and nobody knows exactly what route will the future negotiations on the second phase will take place. There are already some reports about Britain and France, together with the United States, heading to the UN Security Council to issue a resolution on the establishment of the so-called International Stabilization Force, which is, of course, according to the Trump plan, is going to play a very vital part in the demand for the disarmament of Hamas, because Israel links any further withdrawals from the Gaza Strip to the issue of the disarmament. And then, of course, there is another critical issue about the reconstruction of Gaza. Probably the conference, which is going to be held in Cairo next month, is going to be a primary step about giving some early estimates about the costs, about who's going to contribute, which are all very complicated issues that take time. Unfortunately, I mean, nobody knows exactly the intentions of Israel, as you've seen over the past 2 days, over the issue of the dead bodies of the Israeli detainees. There have been threats from the Israeli government that they will not carry out the remaining parts of the agreement. They've already slowed down on the entry of humanitarian aid. They did not carry out the reopening of the Rafah crossing between Egypt and Gaza Strip, which is very important for the entry of both goods and human beings. There are hundreds of Palestinians waiting on the Gaza side to be able to leave Gaza to hospitals in Egypt or elsewhere. And all this is coming to a halt right now, despite the provisions of this agreement, because of this dispute over the Israeli dead bodies. So again, there are a lot of open questions, but perhaps the first step we can expect is some sort of a certification of this plan by Trump through the Security Council resolution, starting with the deployment of the so-called International Stabilization Force, which is like, I mean, it remains unclear which country is going to contribute, how many troops are going to be deployed, and whether Hamas itself will be ready to accept the presence of this international force, which is basically would be placing Gaza under international supervision. And I'm sure that this is not the most favorite option for Hamas, who wanted a Palestinian government to take over responsibility for the Gaza.